Hello, everybody, and welcome back to XTalknIsh. And you already know what we do here. This is X, and this is your boy Ish, and we are here to talk some Ish with you guys. Ish, my boy, how you doing today?
Chilling, man. Catching up on all these moves that are going on. It's been a lot to follow. Lots to follow.
A lot of crazy moves have been out there in the NFL world. Of course, that's why we are here to talk about that. Before we get into that, let's please make sure you guys like and share this broadcast. If you are on Facebook tuning in, we are, of course, we are, of course, X Talking Ish on Facebook. So please make sure you go and like that page. If you are on YouTube, we are now broadcasting live on our YouTube page at X Talking Ish. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button and also that bell notification button as well.
Ding.
Thank you, Ish. Thank you for that. And as well, we are streaming on my Twitter page at xwilliams81 on Twitter. So with that being said, like we talked about before, we are talking about this year 2021 NFL free agency and the wild west that is going on, mainly on the East Coast. Of course, with the New England Patriots, we will get into them real soon. But let's just hear what you have to say about this right quick, Ish, before we get into certain teams and the moves that they've made individually. But for the first couple of days, Ish, I mean, how do you feel?
I mean, it's been pretty cool the first couple of days. A lot of action. I mean, I don't know that I was expecting this much action. But then again, with the salary cap being lowered, you knew a lot of teams were going to have to make some moves to get under the salary cap. And then a lot of teams are going to have to be creative with the deals that they got going on, signing these free agents. So it was very interesting to see the teams that made the most noise early on, and just to see some of these numbers come through on these deals because that is something that has been very interesting and very it's been talked about a lot during this offseason. That salary cap being lowered, teams are going to have to be creative. We've already seen Tom Brady restructure his deal. We saw Patrick Mahomes restructure his deal. So teams are getting creative with their stars. They're getting creative with these contracts. Taysom Hill in New Orleans also restructured his deal to help them out because that was a big discussion. How was New Orleans going to be able to make some of these moves and sign some more players to help them, get back in contention and defend that NFC South crown. So yeah, it's been very interesting to see these deals come through. The numbers on the deals attached to them. I am excited for free agency to continue because we just getting started and there's still a lot of guys out there on the market that are available.
I'm happy that you bring up the restructuring of contracts amongst the top level teams that are trying to win championships. This is the first time I've ever, watching football, I've ever seen multiple teams go to these top players and say, "Hey, look, I'm pretty sure they had a meeting a month ago or whatever they did in the, either in the offseason or even during the season, during the playoff time where they said, look, guys, going into the offseason, we're going to probably have to restructure your contract so we can still be able to get players, but you're still going to get paid, you're still going to get taken care of. But we have to find out a way to be able to work through this loophole. Like you said, it's just an 8% decrease of the salary cap this year compared to last year. So for a lot of these teams from the Chiefs, and I know I'm missing a couple other teams, my bad, like you just said,
The Saints,
with the Saints
the Steelers,
and
the
the Steelers.
Bucks.
There's a lot of teams out here that are restructuring contracts that didn't happen because usually if you get your deal, you want to stay with your deal, right? You don't want the owner trying to find a way, or the GM, I'm sorry, to find a way to mess with the contract that you signed 2 or 3 years ago. But it seems like, especially if you are on a competitive team like the Kansas City Chiefs, they're all in it to win it. It seems like they know they have a guy, Patty Mahomes, that can at least get us there, right? That can at least get us to, they're going to at least get to the playoffs. We're going to at least get to the second round of playoffs. We just might need another extra piece here or there to finally get us to another Super Bowl. So to see what they are doing is very interesting. To see And again, we're going to get to them very shortly right now. The New England Patriots do what they've done this offseason with saying, hey, we're going to go, I wouldn't say all in, but it might as well say all in because this is the first time in 10, 15 years that the New England Patriots are going full force into free agency because usually they are a within group. They usually are going to promote from within, or if they do get a big time free agent guy or a trade, usually bring them in for pennies on the dollar, right? So to see the New England Patriots go out here and just spend this money on Hunter Henry and Juju Smith and Matt Judon, Nelson Aguilar, Cam got his deal, Jalen Mills, and of course this is not just the only guys. They signed so many guys in free agency. I had to make two lists with Kendrick Bourne, David Gotcha. I want to make sure I got it right. Gotcha. And also Henry Anderson. I mean, the New England Patriots, I'm going to be completely honest with you, Ish, I think they feel disrespected.
I don't know that they feel disrespected. I think this is exactly what they planned on doing the whole time. They've been for a couple of years now making moves that was freeing up room on the books. I think a lot of people for maybe about 2 years now have been complaining about the weapons that they have, some of the guys that they have on the defense, some of the people they've lost. And really, I would say if you know Bill Belichick and you trust in Bill Belichick and that organization, that front office that has been able to build a dynasty, I think they knew exactly what they were doing. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall with Tom Brady. Maybe they knew some of these older guys, they weren't going to be able to rely on them much longer. And they kind of started preparing for this right here. They have made a lot of changes on the team, on the roster. They've moved a lot of contracts around. And this summer, they were able to use that to their advantage. They have come in big time and made some big splashes. Like you said, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, those two just off the bat, like that is a really big signing on both parts because now you're back to the, back in the day when New England
and Aaron Hernandez.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they've got those two tight ends now that are very athletic, very good at catching the ball. Then you go on top of that, you add Nelson Aguilar and you add Kendrick Bourne, two wide receivers to help you out in a wide receiver group that desperately needed help. Oh, yeah. So,
and also word on the street for the Patriots, they are also might be shopping their first round draft pick. I'm sorry, definitely the name just lost. Neil, my bad.
Mm-hmm. Nikhil Harry.
Nikhil Harry. There we go. Yeah. My bad. I was about to say his name opposite. But Nikhil Harry, they are already talking about shopping him, and that is not a good look for, I would say for Neil because the Patriots never drafted a first round wide receiver under Bill Belichick watch, and a lot of people expected him to perform pretty well because it's the first time. I'm just saying that a lot of people expected high hopes from him because Bill Belichick got him in the first round. Never done that before as a wide receiver, and it didn't seem like it worked out. It's working out in New England. He's had injuries. It just didn't seem like, of course, the offensive scheme fits him as well. So I think that's a split that needs to be made. Anyways.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest. I think that's Nikhil Harry is a great example of your scouting actually working out. And when I say that, I mean all of the concerns that people had about Nikhil Harry before the draft, that's exactly what's plagued him with New England. His route running is not the greatest. He's not able to create separation on some of these in-breaking routes, some of the more technical routes. I think coming out of school, a lot of the concerns was that he doesn't have a full route tree. And in New England, that offense, like we saw years ago, it does hurt certain wide receivers that go on to play in New England just because that scheme, it calls a lot for you. It asks you to be able to change routes in the middle of plays, to be able to make adjustments, to make read routes. And it is very hard, even for receivers like we saw with Chad Johnson, for receivers that do have a complete route tree, it's hard for them to pick up that offense. So when you don't have that route tree, you're going to struggle, right? So, like you said, I do think it's a separation that needs to happen. I think he could get in a better spot where, they could take advantage of his the skill sets that he does actually have. And, he might be getting to an offense that he'll be able to make a change. But I do think a change needs to come for him just because, it's just not a good fit. We can all see it's not a good fit for him.
And I will say as well, on a serious note, shout out to the New England Patriots on some serious.
I'm not shouting them out.
Hey, because I want to see how it all comes together. Because now this is no excuse for Cam Newton this year, right? Because, to be able to only throw 10 total touchdowns that he had last year, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I understand what happened. I understand what happened when it comes to he had COVID, the lack of playmakers, the defense wasn't all there. A lot of defensive players opted out that will be coming back this year. So that's what I'm saying is like this should be a complete Patriots team for the most part, whatever complete Patriot team, whatever you want to call it, because usually if you're talking about the complete Patriots team, that means that they are contending for a Super Bowl, right? So I'm not going to say that this team is a Super Bowl competing team just yet, but I am saying that the pieces that they have because of what they got through free agency, this definitely does help them put them back into the thick of things of competing for the division. Because let's remember,
I don't agree.
You think it's the Buffalo Bills division and that's it?
I still think it's the Buffalo Bills decision.
And I respect that because I feel the exact same way. But there are a lot of Patriot fans that are saying, "Hey, we back. No matter we don't care about the Buffalo Bills." And I'm looking at the Patriots fan like did y'all forget about what happened last year? I understand, that was last year, but Josh Allen's only getting better. The Buffalo Bills just added Emmanuel Sanders to add on to that wide receiver core. So if I'm the New England Patriots, especially the fan base. This is not Tom Brady and it's not Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. This is second year Cam Newton. And we still have to see if Cam Newton can still be Cam Newton this year because he was not Cam Newton that we would expect him to be this year.
Well, and I would argue you're not building upon a team that was already competing for the division, right? Like you're building upon a team that was bad, a team that was very bad. So you're bringing in these great pieces. They still got to come in. They still got to pick up the scheme. They still got to get that. They still got to gel together.
Camaraderie. You got to get that camaraderie.
I think, like Justin said, it depends on which Nelson you get is another thing that people aren't noting because Nelson Aguilar, he's been up and down. Nelson Aguilar isn't necessarily a home run to me. Kendrick Bourne isn't necessarily a home run to me. Yes, there are upgrades.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I don't think that they're like knockout pieces that are going to come in and automatically make me think you're going to compete for the division. You got better in New England, but there's still a lot of things that got to go right. Like you said, Cam Newton, his second year, is he going to be able to? Are they going to be able to expand the scheme? Because the scheme this year was Cam Newton running the ball. It wasn't him throwing the ball to anybody. So, we need to see, is Cam Newton going to be able to read defenses and make the throws that he made a couple years ago? We didn't see it last year. Are we going to be able to see it this year? I don't know. The defense, all the pieces that are coming back, even adding Matt Judon and so on and so forth, they played okay. They were a decent defense, but with all those people coming back, are they going to go back to being one of the top defenses in the league? I don't know.
But I also, sorry to cut you off, we still again have to wait and see what more pieces they add on. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they add Kyle Van Noy to that defense. Might bring him back because he's out there needing a team. I wouldn't be surprised they go out there and get somebody like Desmond King to add on to that safety spot back there in the backfield. I'll say this, if Belichick can at least lock down the defense and make sure that they are able to only give up less than 21 points a game, they have an opportunity to win 7, 8, maybe 9 games and compete for the division. But I am not going to give the New England Patriots the division just because of these free agent signings that they've made. I'm not.
No, not at all. I think you'd be crazy to give them the division at this point.
I agree. Now let's check in with the comments right quick. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Justin Stabler, he says Hunter Henry is their biggest. He says appreciate the spell check. This is their biggest signing by far.
I agree with that.
it depends on which Nelson is going to show up. And I unfortunately think because of course, Nelson Aguilar's history in Philadelphia as giving him a bad rep, he kind of made his reputation a little bit better in Las Vegas last year. He played a lot better. So let's see if he can continue to trend upward and not have this notion that he can't catch. You know, it's a bad season for him. It is what it is. Shout out to Sean Lee. Says John Brown at this point in his career is better than Emmanuel. I think that was a downgrade. Did save some money though.
I agree with that 100%.
Hey,
I thought the same thing. I thought, why didn't you bring back John Brown instead of Emmanuel Sanders if that's the case? But
hey, again, I understand where both of y'all are coming from on that, but I look at Emmanuel Sanders as a sound veteran that can come in and add some veteran leadership, and also
they didn't need that. John Brown's a veteran as well.
Look,
Emmanuel
Sanders is a Super Bowl champion.
Okay,
I'm just saying
he's not getting you Super Bowl champion.
Hey, we will see. It can maybe
didn't do that for New Orleans.
Well, that was Drew Brees' fault, and that's another story for another day. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about New Orleans real soon too. Don't worry, we'll talk about New Orleans real soon. That man Dooley's chiming in for today. I appreciate you, that man. He said Cam's trash. If he doesn't put up this season, he'll never see the day of light in this league again. He's done as a starter. He said, very bad, huh? Tom Brady would have took this team to the playoffs, which he's talking about the New England Patriots. Cam isn't the same athlete he once was. That once 4.5 is looking real 4.7-ish. And you notice Ish been hiding ever since the Chiefs lost to the Super Bowl. He actually
I'm not hiding. I'm right here.
Ish has been here, but
I'm right here, Dooley. You can come on the show anytime you want.
We waiting on you, Dooley. We waiting on you, but you know he's a little tied up right now. But seriously though, you know, of course, speaking of the New England Patriots, let's go ahead and turn right into the New Orleans Saints, since we were talking about them for a little bit. Let's tune in from just a little bit and talk about the signing that they made and also the recent departure of Drew Brees. He did make it official that he is retiring. I was wrong. I said over the last month, hey, he's coming back. He's coming back. He just, hey, all I said was this. If I'm Drew Brees, I ain't going out like that Tom Brady. There's nothing wrong with me as an athlete.
There's nothing wrong with being beaten by the greatest.
Look,
you got beat by the GOAT. Hey, it is what it is. Let's
be honest. You beat this man. Look. You beat this man twice in the regular season, and you gonna let this man come into your dome? Come into your dome and beat you like that? And you ain't gonna fight.
Do you think they're gonna beat them this year? Like, what?
If Drew Brees want that, look. If Drew Brees want to be called Breezes. If he wants to be that second GOAT of this generation, whatever he want to be called, get your ass out there and go redeem yourself, son.
What difference would it have made to go lose again in the playoffs?
You know what? You're right on that. But the point is, you got to go redeem yourself again, son. You got to go redeem yourself for the third time and the fourth time and the fifth time. Hey, you got to go Jim Kelly to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row and lose every time. That's what you got to do.
Nah, he knew what was coming, man. That's like a heavyweight champ that knows that their time is done, bruh. Why take another fight, bruh? Why take another fight? He knows what it is. Oh, he's gonna get that money with NBC.
You're gonna get that money from what? Avocare, NBC, walk-ons.
Oh yeah, he gonna get his money.
All right, let's talk right quick about again with Jameis signing this deal. Of course, it doesn't make him the official starter for the New Orleans Saints moving forward, but do you see him being able to beat out Taysom Hill in the quarterback duel in New Orleans?
I don't know. We didn't see enough from Jameis last year to say that. And when Drew Brees was out, they started Taysom Hill. So there are reports that they are really high on Jameis in New Orleans, that they really like him. But if he didn't start last year in place of Taysom Hill, in place of Drew Brees, I don't know. I'm still questioning that. It's up to Jameis to win it. Is Jameis, the Jameis that doesn't turn the ball over a lot? I guess we're gonna have to see in camp. This is definitely gonna be a story that's gonna follow them all through camp, all through whatever preseason we have, if there is a preseason. until that very first game, this is going to be a story that we're going to have to wait and see, what happens. I think as of right now, I'm throwing my hat behind Taysom Hill only because of what we've seen from Taysom Hill. And the coaching staff, for some reason, they still really like him. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, well, he's not a quarterback. He's a slash. He's this. The coaching staff continually puts him out there, even in place of Drew Brees. Sometimes they would take Drew Brees out and put Taysom Hill at quarterback to run some plays, even though he played tight end sometimes, even though he played slot back, H-back. He was still getting plays at snaps at quarterback when Drew Brees was there. So I just think that there's something about him that this coaching staff can't get past, that I right now think he's going to beat out Jameis. I just don't know. But I hope Jameis wins that job. I think Jameis deserves it. He took his time behind Drew Brees to learn and kind of be the understudy. I think, let him come out and let's see what improvements he made behind Drew Brees.
I like everything that you just said, and everything could actually go that way. What I really see, honestly, is I see Taysom starting. I see Taysom getting his ass blasted by week 7 because he's gonna run around with the ball all willy.
That's a long time.
For some reason, he's a durable ass player.
He really is.
You feel me? Like, it's times I see him take hits, I'm just like, yeah, damn. Like,
he get hurt a lot, but he still played.
That's what I'm saying. So that I could see him having an injury or two going into week 7, and all of a sudden he wide open, spread eagle, and somebody right in the ribs, and here comes Jameis. We've seen it before. It happens every year. So I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis is going to get an opportunity to play. I don't see Taysom being able to make it all 16 games because of the way he plays. It has nothing to do with he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's going to get pulled because of his stats. I think he's going to get pulled more because of him trying to be Lamar RG3 and trying to do extra to earn an extra 2 or 3 yards instead of living to fight another down.
Okay,
that's what I could see happen, and Jameis come in there and either you make it or you break it. That's what I honestly could see. But I agree with the whole. Let's see what happens with Jameis after he's learned so much under Drew Brees. Make the right reads. Don't force things. Limit your turnovers. Keep those same 30-plus touchdowns a season, but just bring those turnovers to 12 to 10. We got an opportunity, but it's at this point, it's on Jameis to excel in the system that he's in because it allows him to excel because it's a passing type of offense, right?
Most definitely. Like it's just the maturation of learning to live to fight another day versus forcing a play to happen. I think that was the problem he had in Tampa Bay. He wanted to force a lot of things. He wanted to make a lot of things happen. He wanted to be that Jameis at Florida State who said, I'm going to carry y'all to a championship or I'm going to win the championship.
He going to do what is? He going to slang that thing.
He going to slang that thing.
All right, then.
And I think that's what, if he's learned from Drew and he's learned to pick his spots, he's learned how to capitalize on what the defense gives him and not force things. Jameis Winston, let's be honest, he had the stats of a great quarterback minus the interceptions. That's really the one thing. And with that eye surgery as well, I think the eye surgery, they could have made a different guy.
Now, look, and with not just my team right behind me, but a guy we just talked about, Nelson Aguilar. Sometimes you just need a new surrounding area, somebody, other people to believe in you, to be able to get another shot, and who knows, you might be able to retain that confidence that you lost. And who knows, this might be the new era for Jameis, or it could be over with. I'm talking about like you're probably gonna be a backup for the rest of your career, or just out of the league real soon.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
And it's not. It really isn't. A guy like Ryan Fitzmagic just made another headline for going to his 17th team and still being in the league for 16, 17 years now. So there's nothing wrong with being a journeyman quarterback, but you have to be able to provide some type of asset to that team that you're coming to to come in and like Andy Dalton. I don't think Andy Dalton is a valuable asset that you're adding as a backup quarterback. I'm just being honest. Andy Dalton is pretty sure he's a great guy off the field, on the field, all that stuff like that. But again, no disrespect, but Andy Dalton hasn't won anything since Katy High School.
I mean, he's a decent backup quarterback to have.
I'm just looking at guys like a Jameis that's won a national championship. AJ McCarron, he's won a national championship too. So again, at least you have that on your resume for you to at least run, hang your hat on to say, hey, at least I've done this, right? That's all I'm saying. Professional wise. All right, let's go ahead and move on to a championship team that won the Super Bowl last year. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and with them reloading for another run at it.
How about we don't talk about them and just kind of move on?
Hey, we can't do that because you might be how can I say, you might be accepting what Dooley was saying when it comes to, you might be running from the truth. Don't run from the truth.
I'm not running.
It is what it is. Tampa Bay, they Super Bowl champions this year. You got an opportunity to beat them this year. That's good motivation, right? All right, then. Like I said, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they went ahead and re-signed Chris Godwin, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, and Gronk. And it seems like they on a running back tour. Same way that the Chiefs did last year. And I don't know how they were able to do this. The same way, again, we talked about the Chiefs when it comes to restructuring contracts. That's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to do with a couple contracts. And they definitely brought back majority of the pieces that they wanted to bring in. And they still have a couple of guys left free agency-wise that they could still bring back, like the Ndamukong Suh and Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, so they can still bring a couple more guys back. From word on the street, AB won't be back. Leonard Fournette is two teams are looking at him, so he probably won't be back as well. But it'd be very interesting if they could still bring back Ndamukong Suh, and I could see them still, NFC Championship game minimum at least. Right?
Oh, it's more the same from Tampa Bay. I mean, once I saw these signings come in, I was like, well, here we go. It's more the same from them. They were prepared for it. They're ready to go. And they still got the draft to add more pieces to them. I don't know, man. There's not much to say about them, really. They just brought it back. Like you said, it's a running back tour, man. They're ready for it, and that's what they're loading up for. Nothing big here, nothing really huge to note other than, hey, they brought back the guys they wanted to bring back that they felt like were the guys that were going to help them get back there. So,
I completely agree. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on them because we have a couple other more teams to talk about. But I'll say this when it comes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For them to do what they did in their first year, not being able to have real training camp because of COVID, not really being able to build that team camaraderie that you think you're supposed to build, the chemistry-wise and whatnot, they had a hell of a first year. And, of course, you have to tip your hats off to them and just say, man, that was great. Now, can you recreate that same magic again?
I'm not tipping my hat to them.
I understand. I'm just saying, could you – not you, but I'm just saying the people that are listening, could they actually have that same type of drive and – want like they did in their first year? Because we know as playing football players is different when you're trying to become the champions and then the year that you are the champions. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go about this season as the champions, because some of those guys on that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, they've been champions before. Of course, Tom and Gronk and a couple other players, but some of these guys like Shaq Barrett and David, this is their first time, and of course Godwin, this is their first time winning. Mike Evans, when they won in the NFC Championship game, there was a little clip of him talking about he didn't know that there was a ceremony, right? So there were this is some of these things that are new for these guys that. There are going to be more cameras showing up this season. They should be used to cameras, but there's going to be a lot more pressure. Every team that they play is going to come at them. They're going to have a target on their back. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm not going to just say automatically, hey, Tampa Bay is automatically a lock. I'm not saying that. But they definitely have the pieces to run it back. I will say that. All right, so let's go ahead and get to move into Before we get into the AFC South, I want to talk about the AFC East right quick with the Buffalo Bills and a couple of signings that they've been able to make over the last couple of days. Apparently, like we talked about with Emmanuel Sanders, he signed his 1-year deal. The terms on that is coming out shortly. Darrell Williams, offensive tackle, 3 years, $28 million. John Feliciano, 3-year deal. And then also Matt Milano with the linebacker as a linebacker 4-year deal, $21 million deal on that one. Do you see them, with the signings that they made, did they get better? Did they stay the same, or did they get worse-ish?
I think at the receiver position, they got a little bit worse. But when you got Stephon Diggs, I think that he kind of covers for that drop-off you're going to have with John Brown. Not to mention John Brown was injured. He was having some durability issues. So Emmanuel Sanders, if he's able to be there, play the games, you should be all right. You're not looking for a world beater there. You got Stephon Diggs, like I said. So he just needs to come in and fill in here and there, give him another option. As far as did they get better or worse overall, I think it's more the same, right? Like they re-signed these pieces. It's not like they went out and made a big splash. So I think it's more the same. They're holding. I don't think that the rest of the teams in the division made big enough moves to say like, well, there's pressure on them that they needed to go out and make these moves. Because if I'm being honest, New England's moves are just bringing them back into contention, right? Just getting them back into the conversation. New England was so bad last year that I think that really we're hoping to see them get back into, hey, let's win some of these games that we should have won last year, or that, if we're at full strength, that's we're looking at New England as like, oh yeah, you're going to win this game easily. So I think that for Buffalo, this is just standard, like, hey, let's keep it where we are. Let's run it back and make sure that we're able to continue doing what we've been doing. I think they're working on a trend. They're working on a path going upward. And this is just making sure that they continue on that path upward is just what they were doing.
I completely agree. And at this moment, it's the Buffalo Bills division to lose.
I agree.
It's on y'all.
That's not to say the other teams aren't closing the gap, because I feel like last year it was a pretty decent gap. Like you were talking about the Miami Dolphins all season long, but in reality, the Miami Dolphins weren't as close to Buffalo as
they weren't.
You were trying to make.
The defense kept them, right? Because of the defense. That's why I knew the offense. The offense was not there with them at all. Period. Yes. And then of course when they put that last week that season 17 whoop down on them, it was obvious. It was pretty obvious on that one.
And I think that the other teams are closing that gap, especially New England. New England is trying to quickly close the gap, right? And depending on what you get from Cam Newton, or if you go get a quarterback in the draft, or you're able to make somebody be a third team in some of these trades that might happen with some of these other quarterbacks, depending on that quarterback play, you could actually be back in the conversation of, hey, maybe we are pushing Buffalo a little bit. But I don't think the other teams are close enough that Buffalo is really scared at this point. I think Buffalo still realizes, hey, it's our division to lose.
And I agree. But again, it'd be very interesting to watch next year. Is the Patriot, the mystique, is it still there?
I don't think so.
We have to wait and see. I'm just letting you know, a lot of Patriot fans feel like because of the additions of the free agents, and then of course going into the draft, they feel like, hey, Bill is back. This is chess, not checkers, baby. I should say this is chess, not Chinese checkers. I should say, because Chinese checkers is a little bit easier. So with that being said, I feel like Bill Belichick has some things up his sleeve, but it's just not good enough right now, because I feel like Buffalo are just 2 notches above New England.
Well, we're still not talking about Miami as well, because they still got to get past Miami. They were behind Miami.
I'll say this. Well, again, this is just free agency week 1, because if they make the trade for Deshaun Watson, which I don't think that will happen, I'm just saying, if Deshaun Watson goes to the Dolphins, boom, it automatically. I think the Bills and the Bills and the Dolphins are literally right there. Because that Deshaun Watson does that to that team, right? That's just how I feel. we have to wait and see what happens with the Dolphins. But if they are going to the season right now, if all three teams are going to the season right now, what's going on? If we start the season right now, the Buffalo Bills, I would put the Dolphins and then the Patriots, but the Patriots at the end of the day, we're going to have to see what's up with especially Cam. The biggest question mark at the end of the day is Cam. I love Cam. I have no problems with Cam, but we just saw a couple weeks ago, you're making more noise off of the field than you are on the field. So we just have to wait and see how this team comes together to really get a grasp on how good they are, or is this just a hype? Because NFL teams have talent, right? Every sure. NFL roster is going to have talent. Can you put that talent together? That's the question.
Yep.
All righty then. Let's go ahead and move it along. And let's talk about, the team that we just talked about right quick, because we're going to keep it right into the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins. We're just going to talk about a couple of pieces that they added on there, and I thought it was very interesting because, like I said, with their quarterback situation with Tua, they added a backup quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, and they also got another linebacker, Bernard McKinney from the Houston Texans, for the trade for Shaq Lawson. That trade is not official till March 17th. But with them adding Jacoby, and we'll also, of course, talk about the Houston Texans as well, with them adding their quarterback, do you feel like that was a safety move for the Miami Dolphins to add a veteran quarterback to help with Tua's progression? And then, again, just in case if something happens to Tua, you have a reliable backup quarterback, because it seems like in the NFL – moving forward, you need a reliable backup now. It's not you don't need just a backup that's just gonna come in and hand the ball out. Like, no, you actually need a backup quarterback that can actually play. And it seems like some of these backup quarterbacks are actually getting an opportunity to come in and actually win some games and contribute to to see. Because let's just be real. Back in the day, mid 2000s, when Peyton Manning was playing, if you were a backup quarterback, Peyton Manning, you're not even seeing the field. Right? He wouldn't let you even sniff the field. But now it seems like, you have your one guy, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, Russell Wilson. But then you have certain teams that you're going to need that second guy to help from time to time. And it's okay. As long as you can compete and win some games, maybe get to the playoffs, that is what certain teams are looking for, right? So I look at the Miami Dolphins. I see him as, maybe that was a piece that they added to help Tua with his progression.
I think it's just a replacement for Fitzpatrick. You lost Fitzpatrick, so you had to bring in a veteran behind Tua just in case. So you bring in Jacoby Brissett, which I think Jacoby Brissett played pretty solid a couple of years ago. And if you're getting that guy, then, I'm not too worried. I feel like I got a pretty solid backup option. The trade, though, I definitely feel like, once again, the Texans are getting gypped in a trade because you're trading a guy that is a impact linebacker, and you're making that defense better. And that is one of the reasons why just now, when we were talking about the division as far as the AFC East, the Dolphins, their strength is their defense. If they get solid quarterback play, they could definitely be in that conversation with Buffalo Bills because the defense is that good. But are they going to get that solid quarterback play? That's the question that I'm still trying to figure out, and I'm still concerned about. Tua left a lot to be desired last year. I think he showed some flashes here and there, but not the consistency that you need to compete week in and week out to be up there in the conversation for winning the division. So that's something that's to be seen. Now, if they make that trade for Deshaun Watson, they definitely jump into that conversation. So I think the Dolphins are kind of holding the same. They're kind of there. They got better as far as with their strength. They did improve their strength as far as that defense, but they still have some holes that they need to fill. They still have some question marks there, and that's the only reason why I'm saying they aren't leaping into that conversation with the Bills right now for me. But it's a positive move, I think, this offseason so far, and they can only continue to get better. They got a really high draft pick in the first round. Are they going to trade it, move down, or are they going to pick somebody there? And who do they pick there? A lot of people are saying they're going to pick a wide receiver, either Devontae Smith or I think not Justin Jefferson.
Justin Fields, quarterback.
Not Justin
Oh,
Fields.
my bad.
My guy, the wide receiver that sat out for from LSU.
Chase.
Chase.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are saying Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith there, which, I mean, if you get a weapon like that and you bring him in for Tua, then yeah, I mean, that's an upgrade as well. So there's still a lot. Like we said, this is just the beginning of free agency. There's still a lot of moves to be made. But yeah, the Dolphins are trending in the right direction for me in closing that gap with the Bills.
Definitely agree on that and appreciate your take on that. Let's go ahead and get right into the AFC South with the team you just spoke about making that trade. Got it gypped a little bit. That's your opinion. Some people feel like the Texans. I mean, I should say Texan fans feel like they always win every trade. So I'm pretty sure people out there feel like David Johnson's better than Hopkins, and this is actually the year mark that DeAndre Hopkins got traded from Houston Texans to the Arizona Cardinals, and the rest is history from what the Texans have been able to do since a year from today. And with that being said, they went ahead and made some deals to help out the offense and defensive side of the ball. But let's just be honest. Some of the players that you signed is mediocre. It's not really. This isn't Mark Ingram, 3 or 4 years ago. Tyrod Taylor is. I love Tyrod Taylor, but he's not who he was. He's
solid. He's solid.
He's coming off of malpractice of getting needles poked in his damn ribs. All right.
I mean,
he ain't gonna be the same.
Well, I don't know about that. He might be the same. He might.
Bullshit.
I mean, I think Tyrod signing is solid. I think that's great. He's actually, to me, a step up in the backup quarterback position. If you're going to continue to play hardball with Deshaun Watson, he's a step up from AJ McCarron. And if he has to be that guy because you're going to trade Deshaun Watson, he's a solid guy to be a bridge quarterback for you. So I like that signing. The Mark Ingram signing. Let's talk about that. I was actually highly disappointed by that signing. Like, you could bring in somebody else. You could possibly, well, let's be honest, they can't because their cap numbers are atrocious at the moment. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why they're not in the conversation for some of these other guys that are available. James Conner from Pittsburgh, Leonard Fournette, some of these other younger guys, because that's the thing for me. You got David Johnson, who's a pretty old guy, and then you're going to pair him with Mark Ingram, who is also a pretty old back. So, like, why are we making these moves? You got rid of Duke Johnson to bring in Mark Ingram. I mean, I don't like the move. I'm not thrilled by it. I think that Nick Caserio has definitely been busy this offseason making a lot of moves, but they're not necessarily moves that have impressed me. I think it is more of what people have said before, as far as they want to be the Patriots of the South.
Look like it to me.
These signings look like that to me, right? Like, you want to be the Patriots of the South, so you're bringing in these guys who aren't necessarily these big name highlight home run hits, but they are guys that you think will, maybe bring a little bit of depth to the team. And, it may work out. It may not work out. I don't think it works out for them because they just don't have that culture or that team makeup like the Patriots have. So I don't even want to talk about them anymore. I don't like them. They are a bad organization.
Well, tell us how you really feel.
Changes need to be made.
I completely understand where you're coming from, but on a serious note, I do like the Tyrod Taylor signing because this is a city, or to say this is an organization that hopefully will give him an opportunity to prove himself again. He does need to do that. Unfortunately, he was in a bad situation in LA when it comes to you have a guy that it seemed like in practice everybody probably knew he was sooner or later going to be the guy, and of course, unfortunately, the malpractice situation where unfortunately, that's how you get sat on the bench is by a doctor's unfortunate mishap, and all of a sudden the rookie comes off and lights it up, and all of a sudden you lose your job. And now you come in a situation where it's a dumpster fire situation, and you're kind of coming to play the shitty fire extinguisher. And that's pretty much how I look at it. But get your money and get your stats, Tyrod. I mean, I ain't $12 million. Hey, I ain't mad at you, homie. I ain't mad at you. Let's go ahead and I'm happy that my boy Lee. Sorry about that. I'm happy my boy Lee put up this comment because that's the next team we're actually about to bring up. He said them Jaguars getting sneaky, some nice little defensive pieces, and another receiver to get for Trevor Lawrence. Again, it's funny you bring that up because that was the next team we were about to bring up, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and some of the pieces that they were able to bring in, of course, the Shaquille Griffin, his 3-year deal, $40 million, Cam Robertson with his franchise tag, Roy Robertson Harris, 3 years, $24 million, and Rayshon Jenkins for 4 years, and his deal will be to be determined. I agree, Lee. Trust me, I'm not overlooking the Jacksonville Jaguars and the moves that they've made. But at the end of the day, the same thing like Ish just said about the Houston Texans, they're still a bad organization. We saw when they actually do have talent, we saw them in 2017 get to an AFC Championship game and lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can get talent, they can acquire talent, but it's kind of like being in a dysfunctional household. You got a lot of talent, but for some reason it seems like you're going to have something going to happen to mess it up. And that's what it seemed like, what happened with Jacksonville, mainly probably the head coach, Doug Marrone. It might have been some more things going on there, but it seemed like most of the blame got put on Doug Marrone. But as we saw with the Jacksonville Jaguars since 2017, they pretty much wiped the slate clean. All those players that were there are now gone to other teams. And Jacksonville is trying to restructure a new beginning moving forward with having, of course, a new head coach with Urban Meyer. Most likely, of course, picking Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 pick unless they surprise everybody and switch up that pick, which we highly doubt. And trying to bring a new era of Jag football moving forward. This is a great step. But the thing is, do these moves automatically, again, this is just week 1. This is not the end-all, be-all, the free agency moves that they make. But do we see the Jacksonville Jaguars actually becoming a threat? Let's just stay with the division first in the AFC South.
I actually think they can be. I think they can be. Not because I believe a bunch in Urban Meyer as an NFL head coach, but because they are, like Lee pointed out, they are making some good defensive moves. And like you referenced in 2017 when they made it to the AFC Championship game, the big reason they made it to that championship game was their defense. They built a good defense. And I think in the AFC South is always kind of hit or miss. The AFC South is always up and down. Are the Titans going to be able to bounce back with some of the guys that they lost on the offensive side? Is that defense going to be able to step it up? Because they just barely won the AFC South this past year. Indianapolis are replacing Phillip Rivers. As much as we give Phillip Rivers grief, he's still solid enough to get you to the playoffs or keep you in playoff contention. Is Carson Wentz going to be the old Carson Wentz or the new Carson Wentz? The Texans, we just talked about that dumpster fire in Houston. So this is a division with a lot of question marks that going into the season. And the best way to go from worst to first in any division in football is by having a solid defense. If you have a solid defense and you're able to play good defensive football, you might be able to do it. Now, that's asking a lot from a rookie because Trevor Lawrence is probably coming in and starting right away. I don't know that you're having Gardner Minshew, just do his thing. But one thing that is working in their favor is they have a pretty decent run game. Last year, they had the rookie, his name is escaping me at the moment, but he stepped in and he ran really well with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. They have Laviska Shenault, who they drafted last year, who had a pretty decent season. They got DJ Shark there. They got they got a couple other receivers there that are pretty good, and they've made a signing at receiver as well.
And the running back you're speaking of is James Robinson.
James Robinson. So, I mean, for me, I think that, they have a chance to be better and actually compete for this division because the rest of the division has a lot of question marks as well. And I think defense is the easiest thing to upgrade quickly. And if you can play well defensively, like I said, you got a lot going for you. And I think the offenses in this division, it's a lot of struggling going on right now. Tennessee, you still got the king there, but losing Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, that's going to be a hit. Let's be honest. Ryan Tannehill in that play action offense, that takes a hit. You know, when you got AJ Brown over there and he doesn't have a true number 2 anymore or a tight end there to help him out, how does that change what the Oilers have going on? So,
well, I'll just piggyback on that. To be honest with you, I feel like, of course, they will get a free agent wide receiver. If not, they'll go to the draft. I think there will be another wide receiver added in to replace, of course, Corey Davis. I honestly thought Corey would come back. I'm sorry. I thought Smith would come back before Corey Davis, but it is what it is, and I hope both of those guys nothing but the best in their perspective teams. Of course, they'll have to play against each other twice a year moving forward. But I'll be honest with you, I know it gonna sound weird, but I'm not really worried too much. We have three other tight ends that kind of do the exact same. Juno Smith, I think, but here's the thing: I think Juno Smith is going to have a hell of a next 4 years with the New England Patriots. I think he's going to have 1,000 yards receiving if Cam can get him the ball every year. That is possible. I think that is possible with New England, but the tight ends we have behind him can kind of do the exact same thing, but they just didn't get as many targets. So it's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate those tight ends moving forward. But I completely understand where you're coming from with A.J. Brown. Is A.J. Brown going to be as effective with being able to just have one-on-one, or he's going to get doubled now most likely because you don't have to worry about Corey and the other tight ends? I think he is the number one wide receiver. He can be a number one wide receiver, but it's going to be interesting. I agree, Ish. I mean, the Tennessee Titans literally had their best offense in franchise history ever. And to strip away some of those offensive pieces is kind of head-scratching. But at the end of the day, you just have to trust in your general manager because over the last 5 years, you've been to the playoffs 3 times, won the division, and also hosted a playoff game, and also, of course, got to an AFC Championship game. But it is startling, and this is just a little fun fact to know, that the general manager, John Robertson, all of the draft picks that he's made over the last 5 years, only 2 remain. Only 2. And that's not a good look because if you're trying to win, it starts with the draft. And those guys that are not on your team, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on, right? I mean, I'm just saying. You look at the Chiefs, you look at what they are building. You look at other teams, Buffalo Bills, they try to build from within. So we just have to wait and see what happens with the Tennessee Titans. But I'm very impressed with the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they've been able to do the last couple of days. Be very interesting to see moving forward what other moves that they make as well. All right, let's go ahead and talk about a couple more teams before we wrap it up for tonight. The team that I am very disappointed in more than anything, and I'm going to bring them up right quick, is this team right here. The Baltimore Ravens. If you are tuning in on YouTube, of course, you can see our little widgets of the teams and the players up under there. If you are listening on our podcast, you won't be able to see, but you, of course, can hear. The reason why I didn't put nobody's names under the Baltimore Ravens is because, to be completely honest, it's not important. What I mean by that is the Baltimore Ravens beefed up their offensive line and defensive line. Respect, because, again, you have to be able to win, you got to win in the trenches. Got to win in the trenches, got to win on defense, got to win on third downs. A lot of winning you got to do to win a football game, right? But for real, to be able to have Lamar Jackson go to the next level, you have to be able to do what, Ish? And this is something that Baltimore Ravens fans are screaming for the last couple of years now. Get him a true number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I'm getting at is you might not want to – I understand you might not want to get him in the free agent market, but there's a lot of pretty good wide receivers out there. You got Kenny Galladay. You have Will Fuller. I don't think he's number one. I'm just saying he's out there.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Curtis Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster. Let me see. T.Y. Hilton. Even though people might not think he's a number one, I mean, shoot, he was a number one for Indy, killing Houston Texans every time that he came into Houston. They called that T.Y. Hilton Stadium because of the amount of yards that he put up every time he came to Houston.
He was the Texan Slayer.
Yes, John Brown's out there. Sammy Watkins is out there. Antonio
Yeah,
Brown is
but you
out
naming
there.
all these dudes that are not number one
You're
guys.
correct. You're correct. But the point that I'm getting at is you need to get Lamar Jackson some help. If you want him to be able to keep on getting better year in and year out, you have to get him some wide receiver help because this running style type of passing bull crap that they do in Baltimore is not going to win a Super Bowl. It's not. It's literally like watching Harden play for the Rockets and running that bull crap offense that they're running.
Okay, so let me just say this: there's only two guys you listed there, or two guys that are available that I'm actually interested in if I'm the Baltimore Ravens: Kenny Galladay and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
Not because Juju Smith-Schuster is the true number one. Kenny Galladay is the true number one. That guy has put up some great numbers in Detroit, and he would definitely help that offense out. Juju Smith-Schuster fits from a standpoint of he's a good, tough route running receiver, which you need that to couple with Hollywood Brown. If you put those two together, maybe you have a good, as far as like a good combination duo of 1-2.
Juju gonna get his ass flamed if he go from Pittsburgh to the Ravens.
Well, and that's why maybe it doesn't happen. But those are the only two that, for me, football sense, those are the only two guys I'm interested in if I'm the Baltimore Ravens. Curtis Samuel is another Hollywood, maybe even a downgrade. So I'm not going to partner Curtis Samuel with Hollywood Brown. Sammy Watkins, that's not somebody that I'm actually spending time talking about. As far as being part of the Baltimore Ravens. Will Fuller is interesting, except for he's more of the same of Hollywood Brown. Yes. It just doesn't really add that piece that you need. T.Y. Hilton, again, more of the same. You don't want that. Like I said, there's only two guys really, and that's why they're taking their time. I think that they're taking their time because they're waiting to see what the market kind of evolves into, who these guys are talking to.
There are some really good wide receivers in the draft.
So you can draft one.
But I have no problems with that. There could be a rookie that can come in and help out Lamar from day one. But again, being realistic, I think Lamar needs a veteran number one that can help him, that can adjust to his type of balls that he throws, that can get him out of situations again.
I prefer a veteran. I prefer one.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I prefer a veteran in that sense.
It's just one of those things where I'm looking around trying to figure out what direction are they going to go because
they ain't got one.
Because if you're going to stick with this type of offense with Lamar, you're going to run him into the ground. That's all I'm saying. I'm not a Lamar Jackson hater. I'm just a Lamar Jackson truther.
Well, I'm just going off of what I see. Well for late in the playoffs. Like, you've got to be able to do a bit of both to really make it deep into the playoffs. Like, yeah, you won your first playoff game. That's cool. But we saw what happened when you got to the next round, and it's because you need a bit of both. You got to be able to do both things. And I just think, like, you lost Dez Bryant, which it wasn't like he was doing much for you at all anyway. But you have more of the same problem because at least he was a big body on the outside. I mean, right now you got Willie Snead, you got Miles Boykin, who again is not doing much for you. You got Hollywood Brown, and then it's like then you got two other really small, fast guys in Devon Duvernay and Porsche. That more of the same.
See, but here's the thing: Duvernay. That's a bigger body wide receiver guy, and he was supposed to be doing the same thing he did at UT. He was supposed to be doing that with the Ravens, but I don't think he gets the opportunities that he's supposed to be getting. To me,
but he doesn't offer what you're looking for. You want somebody that's going to be able to run those in routes deep down the field. You want somebody that's going to be able to kind of get you those yardage as far as like the tough yardage. And really what he's doing is he's running quick screens and he's doing more of what, like at UT, what he excelled in was the short passing game. It wasn't like he was doing a bunch of like deep digs or, running the corner, the flag route or anything like that. I mean, he's running those little short dink and dunks. That's the problem is they have too many receivers that do the same thing. Like you said, they need to get a guy that helps Lamar as far as when it's third down and you need a guy to go to, They need a big body guy that you know is going to go out there and win. Hollywood's not that guy right now, and that's why they struggle in those instances if it's a third and long, and they need that guy. And I think that you get that with Kenny Galladay. You get that with maybe Juju a little bit because of Hollywood helping him out over the top. And then if you go get a guy, if you're able to get one of these better, bigger wide receivers in a draft, maybe. But I agree with you. It needs to be a veteran.
Completely understand where you're coming from, sir. And again, I appreciate your take on that debacle with the Ravens because I hope they get it together, man. That's a team that's thirsty for them to be back to what they used to be.
Oh yeah.
Before we get up out of here,
over.
Yeah. We'll see the consistency. Can Cleveland keep it consistent? That is the main thing with Cleveland. Before we get up out of here tonight, I just want to run down some of the notable free agents that are still left on the board. Trent Williams, who is, of course, in talks with maybe coming to Kansas City to help out that offensive line. So
come on, Chiefs.
We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Kenny Galladay, he actually should be dropping his team, I think, in the next couple of days. So he'll be on the team soon. Jadeveon Clowney, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster, William Jackson, Mitchell Schwartz, Rodney Hudson, Justin Houston, Hassan Reddick, Jaylen Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Carlos Dunlap, Adoree Jackson, David Andrews, Anthony Harris, Melvin Ingram, Chris Carson, Eric Fisher, KJ Wright, Malcolm Butler, John Brown, Richard Sherman, who is actually in talks with maybe going to New Orleans Saints, Sammy Watkins, Xavier Rhodes, Antonio Brown, Daquan Jones, Quan Williams, Kenyon Drake, Patrick Peterson, and Kyle Van Noy, Ndamukong Suh, Xavier Woods, Cordell Patterson, and a couple other guys. But seriously, on a serious note, there's a lot of talent still left out there. If you guys have your phone set to ESPN, Bleacher Report, Fox, whatever it is, your phones are going to be keep on buzzing for the next couple more days because there will be more news to take down for all these acquisitions that are going around. And who knows, maybe your team will be able to get you a gem that you wasn't expecting to get that you might get. So just stay tuned to the NFL. Stay tuned to XTalknIsh because we will be back, of course, next week to talk some more ish with you guys and to wrap up another week of this free agent frenzy. Hey, who said just because we're in the offseason we didn't have anything to talk about football-wise? Hey,
man, we here.
24/7, baby. That's what the NFL is about. 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year, if you know what I mean. So with that being said, we will wrap it up for the night with XTalknIsh. We appreciate y'all, our family, for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, 9 o'clock-ish. That's good for you?
I think 9 o'clock.
All right. We'll see y'all next week, Tuesday, 9 o'clock p.m. on XTalknIsh.